Before we begin, take a breath and imagine this for a second. You're walking through a quiet cemetery. No reason, no warning, just following a picture frame the wind has stolen from your hands. You catch it, and suddenly your whole world tilts. Because the face staring back at you from that frame, the smiling face you wake up beside every morning, is resting against another woman's grave. A woman you have never met. A woman who died 20 years ago. And beside her name, wilted flowers, and a candle someone recently lit. Now ask yourself softly, not to answer out loud, not to prove anything to anyone, just quietly. What would you do if you found your partner's picture on someone else's grave? Hold that thought. And if stories that explore the deeper corners of love, betrayal, and the secrets people bury speak to you the way they speak to me, you're welcome to stay. Settle in, and feel free to follow this journey, so you don't miss the next chapter. Now, let me tell you how Adana's life shattered in a single breath, and why that moment at the grave was only the beginning. Adana wasn't supposed to be in that cemetery. She was meant to be clinking glasses at lunch with her father, not chasing a runaway picture frame across wet grass, not freezing in front of a tiny grave with her husband's smiling face resting against another woman's tombstone. A dead woman she'd never met. And a photograph of the man she shares a bed with, worshipped like he belonged to them first. In one breath, Adana becomes three things at once. A wife, a stranger to her own marriage, and the only person standing between a forgotten child and a man who ran from his past. Adana didn't mean to run, but her feet slammed against the wet cemetery pavement before her mind caught up. The wind whipped past her ears as she chased the small framed photograph rolling across the grass like it was fleeing from her. Rain clouds gathered overhead, matching the storm inside her chest. She lunged forward, grabbed the frame just as it knocked against a gravestone, and froze. Her breath broke. The breath that had always come easily, during meetings, arguments, negotiations, now left her in sharp, painful pieces. It was James, her husband. His picture, encased in a black frame, rested against the headstone of a woman she had never met. A woman whose name was etched into marble like a quiet accusation. Amaran woke. 1979 to 2003. Forever loved. Forever missed. The water in Adana's eyes wasn't rain. It was disbelief burning at the edges. She touched the glass over James's face with trembling fingers. What is this?" she whispered. She looked around. No one was here. No funeral. No caretaker. No stranger placing the photograph. Only her. Only this impossible truth. Her husband's picture, smiling, younger, gentle, sat on someone else's grave. Her phone buzzed sharply in her pocket. She flinched and answered without looking. "Adana," James said, warm as always. "Are you still at lunch with your father?" She stared at the grave as the world tightened around her. "Yes," she lied, her voice stiff. "I stepped out for a moment." "That's unlike you," he teased softly. "You sound breathless. Is everything okay?" Adana forced a swallow. "I'm fine." "You sure?" She looked again at the photo on the grave, at the face she had kissed that morning, the face she trusted, the life they built together brick by brick. A small crack splintered inside her. "I'm fine," she repeated softer. "I'll call you back." She hung up before he could respond. Her heart pounded so loudly she could hear nothing else. "What were you to her?" she whispered at the image. "Why is your picture here?" A gust of wind pushed the leaves aside, revealing wilted flowers and a fresh candle. Someone had been here recently. Very recently. Footsteps sounded behind her. Soft. Hesitant. Adana turned. A girl, barely in her 20s, stood a few meters away holding a fresh bouquet of white roses. Her eyes widened when she saw the photograph in Adana's hand. The flowers slipped from her grasp and scattered across the ground. "No," the girl whispered, voice cracking. "No, please don't touch that." Adana's chest tightened. "Is this your mother's grave?" The girl swallowed hard. "Yes." "And why is my husband's picture on her stone?" The girl's lips trembled. Her hand shook like she was holding back a lifetime of fear and grief. I can't talk about this," she whispered. "Please put it back." Adana stepped closer. "Tell me why my husband's picture is here." "I can't," the girl choked, backing away. "Please. I don't want trouble." "What trouble?" Adana demanded. But the girl turned and ran, disappearing between gravestones as if she knew every path by heart. She ran as though the truth wasn't just painful, it was dangerous. Adana looked down at the picture again, feeling her insides twist. The grave. The girl. The photograph. Nothing connected, yet everything did. She placed the picture carefully back against the gravestone, her hand lingering on the cold marble. She whispered to the dead woman beneath her feet. "Amara, who are you to my husband?" When she finally walked out of the cemetery, she felt something heavy follow her, something that refused to stay buried. 2 hours later, she sat alone in the mansion's living room, staring at James's side of the couch. Everything looked normal, peaceful, domestic, perfect. The perfect life she curated with precision. James walked in, cheerful, tie loosened from work. He leaned down to kiss her forehead, but she shifted slightly, and his lips brushed her cheek instead. He pulled back, confused. "Hey, you okay?" She nodded but didn't speak. "What happened today?" he asked. "Nothing," she replied. James frowned. "Adana, something is wrong. Tell me." She looked at him for a long moment, at the man she married 10 years ago, the man she thought she knew better than anyone. "Did you ever bury someone?" she asked quietly. James blinked. "What? Did you ever lose someone? A woman?" His brows pulled together. "Where is that coming from? Just answer." "No," he said slowly. "I haven't buried anyone." "Why?" Her pulse jumped painfully. "Are you sure?" "Of course I'm sure." His voice was soft but firm. "Adana, where is this coming from?" She opened her mouth to tell him about the grave, but something stopped her. Some instinct she couldn't explain. Something didn't feel right. "Nothing," she whispered. "Forget it." But she couldn't forget it. She couldn't erase the image of James's picture leaning against another woman's tombstone. She couldn't forget the terrified girl at the grave. At midnight, while James slept beside her peacefully, Adana kept her eyes open in the dark. The room felt colder. The silence too loud. She turned on her bedside lamp and stared at James's face, his familiar jawline, the faint scar above his brow, the softness in his features when he slept. She traced them with her eyes, like she was trying to memorize them all over again. "Who are you?" she whispered into the darkness. "Before me. Who are you really?" The next morning, she didn't wait for answers. She drove back to the cemetery with determination burning inside her. The caretaker was sweeping leaves near the gate. "Good morning," she said politely. "Madam, welcome," he replied. "I need to ask you something." "A grave?" he asked, already knowing the type of fearless confusion people brought here. "Yes," he nodded. "Which one?" Amaran woke. The caretaker froze for a moment, then looked around as if checking who might overhear. "You saw something yesterday, didn't you?" he asked quietly. Adana's heart skipped. "Yes. A photograph." The man exhaled heavily. "You should leave it alone, madam." "Why?" "It's not my place to say." "It is now," Adana insisted. "Tell me." The caretaker hesitated, torn between fear and pity. Then he spoke. The girl who comes here, she is Amara's daughter. She brings that picture every month. For 20 years, she has kept her mother's story alive. Adana's heart tightened. Why my husband's picture? That, he said. Only the girl can tell. She nodded stiffly and turned to leave, but the caretaker whispered something that made her stop in her tracks. Madam, be careful. Not every truth should be dug up. Adana walked away without responding, but her heart beat faster with every step. Back at the mansion, James was in the kitchen making tea. He looked up when she entered. Hey, he said, smiling. You left early. Everything okay? Adana stared at him. A man could smile while standing on broken glass. A liar could look innocent while holding poison behind his back. James, she said softly, where were you 20 years ago? He blinked. What? 20 years ago. Before you traveled abroad. Where were you living? Who were you with? What were you doing? He frowned. That was a long time ago. Tell me. I lived in Surulere, he said slowly. I interned at a small firm before I got my scholarship. Why all these questions? Who did you know in Surulere? Adana, stop. His voice grew uncomfortable. What is this about? She swallowed. Do you know someone named Amara? James stiffened. Not a big reaction, but enough to slice her open. She waited. Where did you hear that name? He whispered. Her breath caught. James looked away, running a hand through his hair. Adana, that was a long time ago. Before us. It wasn't serious. I didn't think she would matter today. Her heart dropped. So you did know her? Yes, he admitted. But it ended. I traveled. We moved on. Why didn't you ever tell me? It never came up, he said weakly. She stared at him with disbelief. A woman you once cared for never came up in 10 years of marriage? James swallowed. Adana, I didn't. Her phone suddenly buzzed. Unknown number. She answered. A soft, trembling voice spoke. Madam, this is the girl from the cemetery. Please don't hang up. I heard you asking about my mother yesterday. If you want the truth, come to Surulere. I will tell you everything. Adana's chest tightened. Who are you? She asked. I'm Ella, the girl whispered. And I think your husband is my father. Adana's world exploded in silence. James stepped closer. Who is that? Adana stared at him, voice shaking. She says she's your daughter. James's face drained of color. What? But before he could speak again, Ella whispered urgently through the phone. Please come now. Before my uncle returns. He doesn't want anyone knowing the truth. Adana hung up. James took a step toward her. Adana. She raised her hand. Don't touch me. Let me explain. Not now, she whispered. Her heart felt like it was tearing inside her chest. She grabbed her keys. Where are you going? James demanded. To find out who you truly are. She walked out before he could stop her. Inside the car, she shook so hard she could barely hold the steering wheel. Viewers, she whispered softly, voice trembling. If you're still watching, hit the like button and subscribe. You won't believe what happens next. She drove toward Surulere with her husband's past standing in the passenger seat beside her like a silent ghost. Adana's hands shook the whole drive to Surulere. She kept replaying Ella's words in her head. I think your husband is my father. Each syllable felt like a knife pushing deeper. The roads blurred past, honking cars, shouting bus conductors, children running by the roadside. But none of that mattered. Her world was collapsing inward. Her husband's picture on a grave was one thing. A living girl claiming him as her father was something else entirely. Her chest tightened as she turned into a narrow street with rusted rooftops, peeling paint, and clotheslines sagging under the weight of damp clothes. Children ran barefoot, laughing. Women sat outside peeling vegetables. Life was happening all around her, chaotic and loud. But Adana felt like she was walking into a storm. She parked beside a cracked drainage gutter and stepped out, clutching her handbag like it was armor. People stared, not in a rude way, but in a "who is this rich woman" way. Her clothes, her shoes, her presence, all screamed a world so far from this one. A young boy ran up to her. "Auntie, good afternoon. Who you day find?" "Ella," she said softly. The boy pointed. "Room 7. Dad sighed." Her heart pounded as she approached the narrow walkway leading to the rooms. She knocked gently on the door with faded paint. For a second, silence answered her. Then the door creaked open. Ella stood there. Her eyes were red and swollen, like she had cried all night. Her gown was simple, faded at the edges. She looked nothing like the women James kept in his social circles, yet something about her presence pulled at Adana's chest in a painful way. "You came," Ella whispered, stepping aside. Adana entered the small room. It smelled of soap and old memories. A single bed pushed against the wall. A small table with a Bible, a candle, and a framed picture of a woman, Amara. Adana looked at the picture. The woman was beautiful. Soft eyes. Soft smile. Something familiar in her features, though she couldn't place it. Ella shut the door quietly, her hands trembling. "Before anything," Adana said, her voice firm but gentle, "tell me why my husband's picture is on your mother's grave." Ella looked down. "I didn't put it there." "Then who did?" "My mother." Adana froze. "She kept it until she died," Ella whispered. "And I kept placing it there every month." "But why?" Adana pressed, stepping forward. "Why would your mother have a picture of James?" Ella took a shaky breath. "Because she knew him. Everyone keeps saying that," Adana snapped, emotion cracking her voice. "But no one is saying how." Ella lifted her head, tears shining. "He was the only man she ever loved." The room fell silent. Adana's breath stilled. "Loved? How?" Ella's voice broke. "My mother and James, they were together. Before he left Nigeria. Before he became who he is today." Adana grabbed the chair closest to her and sat before her knees gave out. Ella continued, her voice faint. "She worked at the office where he interned. They were young. They were happy. She thought they had a future." Adana's eyes stung. "He never told me any of this." Ella nodded sadly. "I know." "But James said it was nothing serious," Adana whispered. Ella gave a small, painful laugh. "To him, maybe. To her, it was everything." Adana swallowed. "Did he know she was pregnant?" "No," Ella said immediately. "My mother tried. She called him every day. She waited outside the office. She wrote letters. But he left before she could reach him." "Left?" Adana repeated. "He got his scholarship and traveled abroad," Ella said softly. "She found out only after he was gone." Adana covered her mouth as a sob tried to escape. She didn't want to cry here. Not in front of this girl. Not in front of her husband's past. Ella stepped closer. "My mother always said he wasn't a bad person. Just young. Confused. Scared." Adana shook her head. "He wasn't scared when he married me." Ella lowered her gaze. "People change." The words cut deeper than anything else. "Why didn't she tell him about you?" Adana asked weakly. "She tried," Ella whispered. "But after the watch incident, she lost her job. Everything spiraled. She didn't have the courage anymore." Adana looked up. "What watch?" Ella hesitated. "My mother told the story only once. She said James accused someone of stealing his wristwatch. The management blamed her. Fired her. She begged him to listen, but he didn't. Adana's stomach twisted. He said he didn't know her name was involved. Ella shrugged helplessly. Maybe he didn't, but his accusation destroyed her life. After that, she was too ashamed to face him. Too broken. Adana felt something inside her crumble. This wasn't just a forgotten romance. This was a wound. A deep one. Adana exhaled shakily. Ella, why reach out to me now? Ella hesitated. Because something happened yesterday. What happened? A woman came here asking questions about James. She said she had something he needed to see. Adana frowned. Who? I don't know her name, Ella said. She refused to say. She left a note. What note? Ella reached for a small folded paper on the table and handed it to her. Adana unfolded it. The truth is ready. Meet me at 6 p.m. No name. No address. Just a time. Did she say anything else? Adana asked. Ella shook her head. Only that James should prepare. Adana's heart thumped painfully. Do you think James knows about you? Ella looked away. I don't know. I never wanted to ruin your marriage. I only wanted to know who I am. Adana felt tears pushing behind her eyes. She blinked them back fiercely. Ella, how old are you? 24. 24. Adana felt the number cut her open. James had been with her for 10 years. Before that, he had been abroad, which meant everything lined up. Ella, Adana whispered, voice trembling. Are you sure he's your father? Ella closed her eyes. I'm not sure of anything, except that my mother loved him until her last breath. A quiet knock suddenly echoed through the room. Ella stiffened, terror sweeping across her face. That's my uncle. What's wrong? Adana asked, rising. He doesn't want anyone knowing the truth, Ella said quickly. Please, hide in the bathroom. I'm not hiding, Adana whispered. Ella grabbed her hand urgently. Please. He's angry. And he hates rich people. If he sees you. The knock came again. Harder. Ella! Open this door. Ella's breast shook. Please, madam. Please. Against every instinct, Adana slipped into the small bathroom as Ella opened the door. Her uncle barged in, a tall, angry man smelling of sweat and frustration. Where is she? He barked. Who? Ella whispered. The woman you brought here yesterday. I didn't bring anyone. You think I'm blind? He shouted. You think I don't know someone is sniffing around the past? I told you to bury it. Forget your father. Ella's voice cracked. He's not. Shut your mouth, he snapped, raising his hand. Adana stepped out instantly. Don't you dare touch her. He spun around, shocked to see her. His eyes narrowed. Who are you? Adana Anderson. He froze. The name hit him like a slap. Everyone in Lagos knew the Anderson family. He dropped his raised hand slowly. So it's true, he muttered. He really came back to haunt us. I came, Adana corrected, because I want the truth. He laughed bitterly. Truth? Your husband ruined our lives. That's the truth. Explain, Adana demanded. What's there to explain? He spat. Your precious James left my sister heartbroken, pregnant, fired, and sick. She died thinking she wasn't worth his time. Ella flinched. And now, he continued, you want to stitch the past like cloth? Leave it. Leave us. I won't, Adana said quietly. He turned to Ella. You showed her the picture, didn't you? You opened old wounds. Ella shook her head, tears falling. I didn't. She found it herself. Her uncle cursed under his breath. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded document. He threw it on the table. Take it, he said, since you want the truth so badly. Ella picked it up with trembling fingers, then looked at Adana. Open it, Adana whispered. Ella unfolded it slowly. Her breath broke. Adana leaned closer. It was a birth certificate, and under father's name was written, James A. Anderson. Ella dropped the paper as though it burned. Her knees hit the floor. Adana's throat closed. Her pulse roared in her ears. From outside the door, a car horn sounded. A familiar voice called out, Adana! Are you in there? Ella looked up in horror. That's him. Adana turned toward the door as the man she married stepped into the compound, eyes scanning wildly, voice shaking. Adana, please tell me you're here. Her heart dropped. Viewers, she whispered under her breath, if you're still watching, subscribe and like this story. What happens next? Even I'm not ready for it. She stepped toward the door, the weight of 24 years pressing on her chest. Everything was about to fall apart. James's footsteps echoed in the narrow corridor before he appeared at the doorway, chest rising and falling like he had run the whole way from the car. Sweat clung to his forehead, his shirt slightly rumpled, very unlike the controlled man Adana knew. He stopped when he saw her. Adana, he breathed. Thank God. I've been calling you. She stood in the middle of the room, Ella on the floor, the uncle leaning against the wall with folded arms, and the birth certificate lying open on the table between them like a bomb. James's gaze dropped to it. He froze. Slowly, he stepped forward, eyes locked on the document. His fingers shook as he picked it up. He read the name once. Twice. A third time. His lips parted, but no sound came out. James, Adana said quietly. Say something. He swallowed, voice rough. This is not possible. Ella flinched as if he'd slapped her. Her uncle scoffed loudly. Not possible? The man snapped. That's your signature there, isn't it? Or did Ghost sign for you? James stared at the faded ink, his past staring right back. I don't remember signing this, he whispered. Adana's heart twisted. So you're saying it's fake? He looked up, eyes glassy with confusion. I don't know what I'm saying. I remember Amara. I remember leaving. I remember being a coward. But this, I never saw this. Ella rose slowly from the floor, tears streaming down her cheeks. My mother wouldn't lie, she said, voice shaking but firm. She never lied to me. Not once. James's eyes met hers for the first time. Really met her. He saw the pain in them, the emptiness, the questions. He took a step toward her. Ella. She backed away. Don't call my name like you've earned it. Silence tightened the room. The fan above creaked weakly. Adana watched them, her chest aching. The man she loved. The girl whose life had grown from his choices. The uncle whose anger hid mountains of guilt. James, Adana said softly, did you get Amara pregnant? He closed his eyes. I don't know, he replied. She told me she needed to talk. She called. She waited outside the office. I avoided her because I was scared of anything that would tie me down. I kept telling myself I'd explain later. Then my flight date came. I left. Ella let out a bitter laugh through her tears. You left. Just like that. I was young, he whispered. So was she, Ella snapped. But she didn't have the luxury of running away. Her uncle pushed off the wall. You have some nerve coming here with your expensive car and guilty eyes. My sister died in a room smaller than this, holding this girl's hand, apologizing for not giving her the life you promised you'd build. I never promised. James started. Don't, the uncle cut in sharply. Don't rewrite history now to make yourself sleep better at night. James's shoulders slumped. For once, he didn't argue. He didn't defend himself. He just stood there, drowning in a reality that had finally caught up with him. Adana stepped forward, her voice low but steady. Her mother is dead. This girl grew up without a father. You knew there was a chance. You suspected, and you never looked back once? James turned to her, eyes full of regret. I thought about it, he said. 4 years. I'd wake up wondering if I had a child somewhere. But every time, I pushed it down. I told myself it would destroy what we had. You and I. I didn't want to lose you. Adana's fist tightened at her side. So you sacrificed the truth instead. He winced. Adana, I was wrong. I know that. But I can't change the past. I can only face it now. And what do you think you're doing? The uncle scoffed. Facing it? In one visit? You think showing up here for 15 minutes wipes out 24 years? No, James said quietly. I don't. He turned to Ella again. I know you have no reason to believe anything I say, he began, voice trembling. If I saw me from your eyes, I'd hate me too. But if I had known you existed... Don't, Ella whispered, shaking her head. Don't say that. It's true, he insisted. She laughed bitterly. You knew there was a chance. You just didn't want to confirm it. That's not ignorance. That's cowardice. James flinched. You're right. The admission seemed to surprise even him. His shoulders sagged, a lifetime of polished confidence cracking. I was a coward, he repeated. Back then. Maybe even now. But I won't run from this again. Adana watched him carefully, pain in her eyes, but also something else. Something she didn't want to name yet. Hope? No. Not yet. It felt too early to forgive. Ella's uncle snorted. Good speech. So what now? You take her to your big mansion? Put her on your Instagram? Oh, look, everyone, my long-lost daughter. Is that it? James looked at the man, then at Ella. I don't know what now looks like, he admitted. But I know what it can't be. It can't be me walking away from her again. Ella swallowed hard, eyes shining. And what about her? The uncle demanded, jabbing a finger toward Adana. What about your wife? You think she'll stay after this? You think she'll just shift and make space because you suddenly found your conscience? The room turned to Adana. Her throat felt dry. Her heart felt like a glass jar someone had dropped from a rooftop. She inhaled slowly. This is not about me. Not today. James shook his head. Adana, it is. Everything is. She met his gaze. No. Today is about her. It's about what you stole from her life and what you can never give back. Ella's lips trembled. I don't want his money, she whispered. I just wanted to know if I was truly unwanted. Or just forgotten. James's voice broke. You were never unwanted. But you forgot, she replied. No, he said quickly, taking a step nearer. I forced myself not to think about it. That's worse, I know. But I need you to hear this. I am sorry. Not in the way people say when they step on your shoe and move on. I am sorry in a way that keeps me up at night now. If I could go back. You can't, she cut in. He nodded. I know. Silence wrapped around them, thick and heavy. From outside, children's laughter floated in faintly, life moving on, uncaring of their private earthquake. The uncle dragged a chair and sank into it like his anger had aged him all at once. So what do you want from us now? He muttered. James looked at Ella. I want the chance to know you. To make things right where I can. To be there, even if it's late. Too late. Ella stared at him, searching his face like she was trying to see the father her mother had loved through the man standing here now. And if I don't want that? She asked softly. He swallowed. Then I'll respect it. I'll still do what I can for you from afar. But I won't force myself into your life. Adana watched him carefully. His voice wasn't smooth now. It wasn't rehearsed. It sounded raw. Uncertain. Human. She looked at Ella. What do you want? She asked. Ella shook her head helplessly. I don't know, she whispered. I spent my whole life wondering who my father was. Now that he's here, I just feel angry and tired and sad. That's allowed? Adana said quietly. You're allowed to feel all of that. Ella's uncle leaned forward, elbows on his knees. When my sister was dying, he said slowly, she put her hand on this girl's head and said, don't hate him. Just let him see what he did. That's all. She didn't want vengeance. She wanted truth. His eyes met James's. You've seen it now. I have, James replied, voice barely above a whisper. So go, the uncle said. Leave us with our wounds. Ella turned sharply. Uncle. Quiet, he snapped gently. I'm protecting you. Are you? She asked, tears spilling over. Or are you stopping me from having what Mama didn't get? He froze. She continued, voice shaking. You said knowing him would break me. But I've been broken all my life anyway. Maybe it's time I decide for myself. He looked away, guilt warring with fear on his face. Adana stepped closer to Ella, lowering her voice. Listen to me, she said softly. You don't have to decide everything today. You're allowed to take time. To breathe. To be angry. To cry. Ella nodded, wiping her cheeks. But whatever you decide, Adana added, glancing at James, it will change all our lives. So make sure it's what you really want. Not what guilt wants. Not what fear wants. What you want. Ella looked at James again. Do you have other children? She asked. James swallowed. No. Then how did you learn to be a father? She whispered. With me missing? He closed his eyes for a moment, pain flickering across his features. I learned by loving your mother's absence without knowing it, he said hoarsely. Every time I was kind to a child, every time I helped someone struggling, something in me was trying to fix this. Without facing it. That's not enough. It will never be enough. But I don't know how to go back and start where I should have. Ella's chin wobbled. You start here, she said, tapping her chest. With the part of me that still wants to believe my mother didn't fall in love with a completely heartless man. He nodded slowly, eyes bright. Then let me earn that belief. One step at a time. Adana's heart squeezed. She remembered their wedding vows. She remembered his gentle hands on her face, his promises, his laughter. She remembered the years of kindness, of loyalty, at least as far as she knew. And now she saw the boy he once was, standing here as a grown man drowning in the consequences of his silence. Ella sniffed. If I agree to know you, she said tentatively, what does that mean for her? She gestured to Adana. The question hung in the air. Adana felt it land in her chest like a hammer. She looked at James. He looked at her. What does it mean for me? She repeated softly, more to herself than anyone else. James took a step toward her, his voice pleading. Adana, I don't want to lose you. She held his gaze. You already lost the right to guarantee that. He inhaled shakily. I know. She turned to Ella. I don't know what this means for my marriage yet, she admitted. I don't know if I can share my husband with a past he hid from me. But I know this much. Whatever happens between us, you will not be the collateral damage anymore. Your life will not be the sacrifice on our altar." Ella's eyes filled with fresh tears. Adana continued, voice firm. "If you decide to know him, I will not stand in the way, even if it breaks me, because your mother suffered enough for all of us." James's lips trembled. "Adana." She lifted a hand. "Don't thank me. Just don't fail her twice. My viewers," the narrator in her mind whispered, "if you're still watching, I want you to think, what would you do if you were in Adana's shoes? Let me know in the comments when this video ends." Ella took a deep breath. "Okay," she said softly. "I'll give you a chance. Not as daddy, not yet. Just as James, the man my mother loved. We can start there." James nodded, eyes wet. "Thank you," he whispered. "That's more than I deserve." The uncle sighed heavily, rubbing his face with both hands. "Then I guess I have to learn to forgive you too," he muttered. "For her sake. And this one's." "No," James said quietly. "You don't have to forgive me. Not now. Maybe not ever. Just don't stop her from having what she chooses." The uncle nodded reluctantly. An awkward silence settled in the room, heavy but different now, less like a tomb, more like the first crack of light before dawn. Finally, Adana spoke. "We need to leave," she said. "All of us. But before that, there's one place we have to go together." Ella frowned. "Where?" Adana looked at James, then at Ella. "The grave," she said simply. "Your mother's grave." Ella's breath caught. "She brought us together without being here," Adana continued. "The least we can do is stand where the truth began." James nodded slowly. "She deserves that." A few minutes later, they walked out of the cramped room into the bright afternoon. The air felt too clear for the heaviness in their hearts. Ella walked between them, uncertain, small but strong. They reached the cemetery in silence. The caretaker stepped aside when he saw them coming, eyes widening but lips staying shut. They stood in front of Amara's grave, the framed picture of James still leaning against it, the flowers beginning to fade. Ella knelt first, fingers pressing into the soil. "Hi, Mama," she whispered, voice shaking. I found him." Her tears fell onto the dirt. James's knees bent slowly as he knelt beside her. His hand hovered just above the ground, not yet brave enough to touch it. "Amara," he said, voice cracking. "I don't know if you can hear me, if there's anything beyond this. But if you can, I'm sorry. For running. For not listening. For not knowing about our daughter. For being a boy who thought the future was more important than the people in front of him." He swallowed hard. "I don't deserve the forgiveness she is willing to try and give," he continued. "But I promise you this. I will carry the weight of what I did. And I will not abandon her again." Adana stood behind them, arms wrapped around herself. Her eyes burned, but she held the tears back. She stepped closer and placed a hand on Ella's shoulder. "Your mother did the best she could," she said softly. "And so will you." Ella looked up at her with wet eyes. "And what about you?" she asked. "Will you stay with him?" The question hung in the air again, desperate, heavy, raw. Adana looked at James, looked at the grave, looked at the life she had built and the truth now sitting in the middle of it like a crack in glass. She inhaled. "I don't know yet," she admitted. "But I won't decide here. Not in front of a woman who never got to see any of this." She glanced at the camera in her imagination, at the invisible audience glued to this moment. "If you're still watching," her storyteller's voice murmured, "don't go anywhere. What happens after this grave is where the real test begins." The wind picked up, rustling the leaves, as if the earth itself held its breath for what came next. They left the cemetery in a slow, quiet line, Ella in front, James just behind her, Adana walking a little apart from both of them, as if she didn't quite know where she belonged anymore. At the car, Ella hesitated. "I can find my way home," she said softly. "You don't have to drop me." "I want to," James replied. She glanced at Adana, seeking permission. Adana opened the back door. "Get in, Ella." The girl obeyed, sliding into the back seat like a guest in a world she wasn't sure she was allowed to enter. James sat in the driver's seat. Adana took the front passenger seat. As they drove out of the cemetery, the silence pressed on them. Halfway down the road, Ella cleared her throat. "So what now?" James's hands tightened on the steering. "What do you want now to be?" "I'm used to not wanting things," she said. "It's easier when there's nothing to lose." "You have something to lose now," Adana said quietly, turning in her seat to face her. "Your heart, your sanity, your peace." Ella smiled sadly. "Did you lose yours when you married him?" Adana's chest squeezed. "I gained something, and maybe I lost something too. That's what love does. It trades parts of you." Ella looked down at her hands. "I don't know how to do that." "You don't have to figure it out today," Adana replied. "One step at a time." They dropped Ella off at the narrow street leading to her building. She stepped out of the car, but didn't walk away immediately. "Will I see you again?" she asked, eyes on James. "If you'll allow it," he said. "I'll come. Or you can come to us. Whatever feels safer for you." She nodded slowly. "Okay." She turned to Adana. "Thank you for not hating me." Adana's voice trembled. "There's nothing to hate, Ella. You didn't ask to be born in the middle of this mess." Ella gave a small, shaky smile and walked away, disappearing into the labyrinth of concrete and rusted roofs. The car was silent again. James didn't start it. He rested his forehead against the steering wheel and exhaled a long, shuddering breath. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. "For what?" Adana asked, staring out the window at the moving neighborhood. "For everything," he said. "For what I did to her. To her mother. To you. You're not sorry for what you did to yourself?" she asked. He gave a small, humorless laugh. This is what I deserve." "Don't say that," she snapped. He lifted his head. "Why not?" "It's true." She finally turned to him fully, anger and hurt dancing in her eyes. "No," she said. "You deserve to feel the consequences. You deserve to work to fix it. But if you say you deserve this pain like it's punishment, you'll treat it as a curse, not as responsibility. You'll wallow instead of act. And Ella doesn't need a father who is drowning in self-pity. She needs a man who will actually show up." His throat worked. "I'm trying." "Then try harder," she said quietly. He looked at her like she was both his judge and his only hope. "Come home with me," he whispered. "Please." She stared at him. The mansion wasn't the same place anymore. It wasn't just marble and glass. It was now also a crime scene, one where the victim was trust. But it was still her home. "Drive," she said. The ride back to their estate felt like traveling between worlds again. The gate opened smoothly. The security men saluted. The house staff moved efficiently. Everything looked the same. Nothing was the same. They stepped inside. The cool air, the polished floors, the quiet elegance, they had once comforted her. Now they felt like a set on a movie, a beautiful lie. James closed the door behind them. "Adana," he began. "I know you don't want to hear excuses." "Good," she interrupted. "Because I don't," he swallowed. "But I need you to know, every good thing I've been to you, every honest moment, every act of love, None of it was fake. The only lie was the one I hid, not the life I'd built with you. She looked at him, eyes glistening but steady. You want me to separate the man you were with Amara from the man you became with me, she said. Yes, he whispered. How? She asked. They live in the same body. They share the same name. That's what I'm struggling with too, he admitted. She was quiet for a long time. The wall clock ticked loudly between them. Do you love me? She asked finally. He flinched. You know I do. Say it. He stepped closer. I love you, Adana. I have loved you since the first day you argued with that board member and walked out of the room like you own the world. Her lips trembled despite herself. She remembered that day. She remembered how safe she had felt with him, how seen. Do you love her? She asked softly. He froze. Who? Ella. He swallowed. I don't know how to answer that. You're her father, she said. You don't get the luxury of not knowing. I don't know how to love someone I've just met, he said brokenly. But something inside me, something moved when I saw her cry. When she looked at me like I was both her answer and her problem. Maybe that's the part of me that loved her mother once. And will you choose that part? She asked. He nodded slowly. Yes. If she lets me, I will learn to be a father to her. Adana's eyes stung. That means, she said carefully, that you are no longer just my husband. You're also a father to a grown woman whose existence you hid from me. Whether intentionally or by cowardice doesn't matter now. The result is the same. I know, he whispered. Then understand this, she said. My forgiveness, if it ever comes, will not erase what you did. It will just mean I chose to live with the scar. If I stay, it will be with my eyes open. Not because I can't leave, but because I decided the broken thing is still worth fighting for. His voice shook. Are you saying you might stay? She looked away, jaw clenched. I haven't decided, she replied. I need time, space, and honesty, every ugly piece of it. You will have it, he said quickly. Ask me anything. I won't hide anymore. She faced him again. Then answer me truthfully. If I leave, will you still fight for Ella? He didn't hesitate. Yes. Pain flashed across her face, quick and sharp. That hurt more than if you had hesitated, she said quietly. He stepped closer. Adana. She held up a hand. It hurt, but it also told me maybe there's something good left in you after all. Tears slid down his cheeks now, slow and heavy. He didn't wipe them away. He let them fall. She took a deep breath. I'll stay in the guest room for now, she said. I can't share a bed with you while I feel like I'm still meeting you for the first time. He nodded, accepting it like a sentence he knew he deserved. Okay, but listen to me, she continued. Don't come knocking at night. Don't send flowers to my room. Don't try to seduce me with memories. If there's any chance for us, it will come from the truth, not from nostalgia. Yes, he said. Whatever you say. He sounded so broken that for a second she wanted to soften, to touch his face, to tell him it would be okay. But it wasn't okay. Not yet. That night, the house felt like two people breathing in separate rooms, hearts beating out of rhythm. In the guest room, Adana sat on the edge of the bed, staring at nothing. Her phone lay beside her, screen dark. She picked it up and opened her notes app. If you're watching this, she typed, imagining her viewers listening to every word. Tell me in the comments, would you stay in this marriage or walk away? Because right now, I don't know which is braver. She deleted the words. This wasn't a script. This was her life. Days passed. James went to work, came home, sat at the dining table quietly, answered her questions when she asked, left her alone when she needed space. He called Ella every few days, never pushing, always asking if he could come see her. Sometimes she said yes. Sometimes she didn't answer. Sometimes she answered and didn't speak, just cried softly on the phone while he apologized again and again, until Adana had to step away from the doorway where she was listening because the sound was too much. One Saturday, Adana was in her home office going through some contracts when the intercom buzzed. "Yes," she answered. "Madam," the gate man's voice came through. "There is a young lady here asking for you. She say her name is Ella." Adana's chest tightened. "Let her in." She went downstairs to meet her. Ella stood in the sitting room, looking smaller than before, like the weight of everything had pressed her down. "Hi," Adana said gently. "Good afternoon, Ma," Ella replied automatically, then caught herself. "I mean, good afternoon, Adana." A faint smile touched Adana's lips. "You can call me what you're comfortable with." They sat. "Is James here?" Ella asked. "He stepped out for a meeting," Adana said. "He'll be back soon." "Good," Ella whispered. "You didn't want to see him?" Adana asked. "I wanted to talk to you first," Ella said, eyes fixed on her fingers. "I've been thinking. A lot. About where I belong," she replied simply. Adana's heart squeezed. "You belong on this earth," she said. "That's the only fixed thing. Everything else we have to build together." Ella nodded slowly. "I used to imagine him as a story," she said. "The man who left. The man who never knew. It was easier to be angry at a story. But now that he's real, flesh and blood, it's harder to hate him completely. And that makes me feel guilty. Like I'm betraying my mother." "You're not," Adana said firmly. "Loving him, or even trying to, doesn't erase your love for her. Your heart is big enough for both." Ella blinked back tears. "Do you believe he loved her? Really?" Adana thought of the grave. The way his voice broke. The way his hands trembled on the soil. "Yes," she said. "I believe he did. I also believe he loved himself and his future more. And that's the part he's paying for now." Ella let out a shaky breath. "I want to give him a chance," she said softly. "A real one. Not just one dramatic day at the grave." "That's your right," Adana replied. "But," Ella hesitated. "I also don't want to destroy your life." Adana smiled sadly. "My life is already destroyed. Or maybe it's finally honest. Either way, you didn't do it. He did. And I let myself believe I knew everything. That's on me too." Ella wiped her cheeks. "If you leave him, I'll feel like I caused it. If I leave him," Adana said calmly, "it will be because of his choices and my boundaries. Not because of you. Don't carry a weight that doesn't belong to you." Ella looked at her with something like awe. "How are you this strong?" "I'm not," Adana replied. "I wake up at 3 a.m. shaking. I stare at the wall and replay everything. I feel like I'm made of cracked glass. Strength isn't about not breaking. It's about not letting the break decide your whole story." Ella took that in, letting it settle. The front door opened. They looked up as James walked in, stopping dead when he saw them together. "Ella," he breathed. She stood slowly. "Hi." His eyes were full of fear and hope. "I wasn't expecting you." "I know," she said. "I came to talk." "To me?" he asked. "To both of you." They sat again, this time in a triangle. Ella folded her hands and looked between them. "I don't know if marriages can survive things like this," she began, voice trembling but clear. "I don't know if children can fully forgive parents like you. But I know one thing. I'm tired of living in half-truth." She turned to James. "I want you in my life. Not as a ghost or a rumor or a shadow. As a real, flawed human being who shows up. That doesn't mean I trust you yet. It just means I'm giving you the chance to earn it. James's eyes overflowed. I don't know how to thank you enough for that chance. Don't thank me, she said. Just don't waste it. He nodded vigorously. She turned to Adana. And you? I want to be in your life too. Not as the girl who ruined your marriage, but as, I don't know, maybe as something else. What's something else? Adana asked gently. Ella took a deep breath. I don't know if I can call you stepmother. That feels like a Nollywood villain. But I would like to learn from you. About business. About how you carry yourself. About how you haven't completely collapsed even though your whole world changed. Adana's lips quivered in an almost smile. You want me to mentor you? Ella nodded shyly. If you want. Emotion rushed up in Adana's throat like a wave. She swallowed it back. I would like that, she said softly. Very much. They sat in silence for a moment, the outlines of a new, strange family forming in the air between them. Finally, James spoke, voice low. I don't know what our future looks like, he said, looking from one to the other. I don't know if Adana will stay with me. That decision is hers, and I'll respect it. But whether she stays or leaves, I will not abandon you again, Ella. I will be there. Awkwardly. Imperfectly. But consistently. Ella nodded. And I, Adana added quietly, will not use you as a weapon. Against him. Against myself. You are not a tool in our conflict. You're a person. With a story that started long before I knew your name. I won't rewrite it to fit my pain. Tears slipped down Ella's face, but this time there was something else mixed in with them. Relief. She stood. I think that's all I came to say, she said with a small, watery laugh. My head is full. My heart too. James stood as well. Can I hug you? He asked gently. She hesitated. Then she stepped into his arms, slowly, like testing water she wasn't sure of. He held her gingerly, like he was afraid she would shatter. She didn't. Adana watched, her chest tight, as father and daughter shared their first real embrace. Something inside her ached. Something else loosened. When Ella pulled away, she turned to Adana. Can I hug you too? She asked. Adana nodded. Ella wrapped her arms around her, holding her tightly. Thank you, she whispered into her shoulder, for not turning me into the enemy. Adana closed her eyes. Thank you for giving me a chance to be more than just the wife he lied to. They pulled apart slowly. Ella smiled through her tears. I should go. I have work tomorrow. James nodded. I'll drive you. She glanced at Adana, asking silently. It's okay, Adana said. Go. As they walked to the door, Adana called out softly. Ella? She turned. Yes. When you get home, send me a message, Adana said. Not about him. About you. I want to know who you are outside of this story. A real smile finally reached Ella's eyes. Okay. I will. They left. The house fell quiet again. Adana stood alone in the living room, surrounded by expensive furniture and invisible cracks. She walked to the window and looked out at the garden, lush, green, carefully arranged. It struck her then. The garden had always been outside. But the real one, the messy one, was inside her, inside them. Full of weeds and flowers growing side by side. She let out a long breath. She didn't know if she would stay with James forever. She didn't know if 6 months from now she would be packing a suitcase or planning a family lunch with Ellis's birthday cake on the table. She only knew one thing. She would not let this story break her into someone she didn't recognize. She turned, imagining the camera of her YouTube audience watching from the corner of the room. "If you're still here," she said in her mind, voice calm but full, "thank you for watching this story till the end. Tell me, would you stay and rebuild, or would you walk away and start over? Comment down below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear that even when everything falls apart, sometimes that's where the real truth begins." She switched off the living room light. One step at a time, she walked into the uncertain future, carrying a heart that was cracked but still beating. And somewhere, in a small room in Surulere, a young woman named Ella typed a message. "Hi, Adana. This is Ella. I like writing stories. I think maybe that's the part of me I got from you, not from him." Adana smiled when she read it. For the first time in a long time, the word that rose in her chest wasn't anger, or fear, or grief. It was something else. Hope. And that, more than anything, meant the story wasn't over yet. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. And in the comments, tell us, what would you have done if you were Adana or Ella?